Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Man, am I excited about today. Before I begin, a big thank you to Don for the virtual gift voucher. Thank you very much, my friend, I really appreciate it. But on to today. Well, today we are talking about why I am more certain than ever that Fulgrim is nearly upon us. Okay, spoiler warning to begin. I am going to be referencing lore from the 40k era, the Psychic Awakening, and the Horus Heresy, so you have been warned. But with that said, let's just jump straight in. Now, since the return of Guilliman and the rise of the current 8th edition, it really feels like the ante has well and truly been upped within the world of 40k lore. And let's be honest, it was the biggest step forward in story, well, ever. And I think it's pretty clear the reason behind this is the amazing success of the Horus Heresy Black Library series, the fascination the fanbase has with the Emperor and the Primarchs. And it's fairly safe to assume GW realised that Primarchs equals money. Serious money. Games Workshop has settled upon a clearly very successful business model. And while campaigns such as Vigilus and the Psychic Awakening give us great new character models at a pretty quick rate, something as major as a Primarch return is obviously a much slower build. But the teases have been coming, and while many Primarchs have had little hints here or there, such as Lorgar and Lionel Johnson, none have had more than the Phoenician, the Illuminator, Fulgrim. And here we're going to cover them all, and show why I believe the return of Fulgrim is very close at hand. The breadcrumbs have been laid for the past several years, and the first hint we received was all the way back during the Gathering Storm campaign. In the second campaign book, The Fracture of Biltan. Now, in this intercepted Vox transmission, where they're talking of a horrifically scarred heretic Astartes, who just happens to be Lucius the Eternal, leading a host of the Emperor's children, there is a very important sighting that is also mentioned. The alleged sighting of a gigantic, serpent-bodied, redacted, slaughtering everything the Astra Militarum could send against it, has yet to be confirmed or denied. Now this, while not named, is quite clearly Fulgrim. A tease so enticing Fulgrim himself would have been proud. And we can definitely infer from this that with Fulgrim appearing with Lucius the Eternal and a force of Emperor's children, that Fulgrim, despite being elevated to the great game of chaos and the distractions that come with Slaanesh, is still very much linked to his legion when the time comes. And those rumours of an Emperor's Children release have been building for quite some time now. But then we didn't have to wait long for the next mention of the Primarch. With the very next chapter of the Gathering Storm, we received concrete mention of Fulgrim, and he made his first named return to the current timeline lore, at exactly the same time as Rabute Guilliman, within the Rise of the Primarch campaign book. After Guilliman had been awoken from stasis and cleared the Black Legion from the Fortress of Hera, he set about cleansing the rest of Macragge. And in true Guilliman style, he achieved this fairly quickly, and soon wanted to press on into the stars, to save the rest of his beloved Ultramar. But as his men prepared for this immense undertaking, the Archconsul suggested a grand parade be held upon Macragge, so recordings of it could be sent out all across the Imperium, to be a light of hope to the embattled people. And though Guilliman certainly wasn't in the mood for parades, he saw the symbol of hope that it could become, and thus the parade was arranged, and the first return of Fulgrim assured. As the mighty parade swept through Macragge in a monumental display of power and glory, Guilliman was presented with a golden laurel-wreathed crown, by the Archconsul himself no less. The moment it was laid upon Guilliman's head, his mind filled with thoughts of future glories. This paltry triumph would be nothing compared to the breathtaking spectacle of his galactic conquest. The Primarch's armies would be beyond number. Their adoration for their heroic lord so great that they would die for him gladly. Planets, systems, whole segmentums would be renamed in honour of he who had liberated them, and the whipped dogs of chaos would flee before him like the curs they were. Statues would be raised to commemorate Guilliman's majesty, and eventually even the golden throne of terror itself would be his to mount. The Emperor's most loyal son deserved no less an inheritance, and he would have his due. And it was this last thought that wrenched Guilliman from the Reeve's insidious curse. With a gasp he tore the gilded crown from his head and bellowed a command for the Arch-Consul to be restrained. It was Grandmaster Voldus who grabbed the robed dignitary, and as his blessed gauntlets touched the man's flesh, it sizzled and crisped. The din of the triumph was colossal, an ocean swell of noise that hid the Arch-Consul's shrieks, and the illusion that veiled him was unmade. Bulbous and deformed, the keening, fleshy abomination wore a glowing amulet about its neck on a thong of human skin. As Guilliman stared in disgust at this cursed fetish, he heard a serration hissing within his mind, and that he had not heard since the fateful encounter on Thessala. In mocking tones, Fulgrim welcomed Guilliman back to his beloved Imperium. The demon Primarch revealed that he had concealed a fragment of his own animus within the amulet that his servant wore, and confessed disappointment that Guilliman had rejected his gift, the Crown of Glories. Many heroes great and pure had fallen to the trinket's blandishments, and Fulgrim had hoped that he could corrupt Guilliman in the same fashion. Now Guilliman is obviously infuriated by this, and he slays the mutant thing that the Arch-Consul has become with his sword. Yet as the triumph rumbled on, Fulgrim's words continued to echo within Guilliman's mind. So Fulgrim's attempt at corrupting his brother failed, but one thing was for sure: Fulgrim's name was now well and truly back on the playing field of the 40k world. Then onto the novel Dark Imperium, where we follow a returned Rabute Guilliman in his coming to terms with what the Imperium has become. Here we see Fulgrim play a large part, as we get to witness the events in which Fulgrim defeated his brother, slashing his throat, leaving him placed in stasis upon the moment of death. But while this is obviously a flashback, it's still a prominent mention of the Phoenician, and also helps to highlight the rivalry between the two that has been ongoing since the encounter. And while I'm here, I do also want to mention the short story The Ancient Awaits. Now, while this is a Horus Heresy short story, it is set within the 41st millennium. Now, during this story, an Emperor's Children dreadnought is unearthed by a group of Thousand Sons upon the ruins of Istvan III, ancient Rylanor. And Rylanor was one of the loyalists betrayed by the rest of the traitor legions. And it's a fantastic read. I really recommend you go check it out for yourself. But in this story, Rylanor lures the Primarch Fulgrim with a sonic weapon to the ruins of Istvan, and essentially attempts to kill him with a virus bomb. And obviously he's not successful, but it's a fantastic little read. And it's yet another mention of Fulgrim within the current timeline, so I thought it's worth mentioning here. And that leads us on to the Iron Hands Codex supplement. Now, this isn't a big appearance by any means, but it's yet another mention of Fulgrim. Where unpredictability can serve as a useful weapon against one's enemies, it too often erodes the bond between allies. Medusan orthodoxy should have warned against the doomed Sabist planet strike. Likewise, without a yearning for vengeance and compassions, Iron Captain Grolvok would never have launched the assault, nor stood alone against the demon Primarch Fulgrim. Buying with blood, the opportunity for the refugees to escape. So like I said, it's a small mention, but it's yet another one, re-implanting that small hint, keeping the name Fulgrim fresh in our minds. And then we come finally to the Psychic Awakening campaign. Now, regardless of your feelings about whether or not the Psychic Awakening campaign has lived up to expectations or not, it most certainly has furthered the teases of Fulgrim's return. In Book 1 of the campaign, Phoenix Rising, we are treated to this ominous transmission. The strike force of Eldari, clad in black armour, emerged just as we engaged the forces of the Screaming Serpent. The Xenos used our assault as a distraction, harrying the foe's flanks as we charged into the killing sonic blasts of the heretics holding the centre. The Eldari's cursed xenotech proved effective against the foot soldiers. Even the hissing steams of discs released from their sidearms somehow cut through the ceramite armour of the traitor host. For a time, we allowed ourselves to believe the Nodum Psychana could be saved. Then came the Screaming Serpent. Vast it was, its wings blocking out the sky. Its three swords cut men in half with each sweep. Its whip hand simply beckoned, and I watched in horror as the stormtroopers engaging it fell to their knees, then toppled face first into the mud. What the hated thing was, I can only guess, but it haunts my every waking moment. Something in my gut tells me I witnessed nothing less than redacted. Of course, redacted. As if we don't know who that four-armed serpent being is. And for those of you not knowing where the whip comes from, well then check out this old epic model of Fulgrim himself. 3 swords, 1 whip. Man, models have come a long way, am I right? Next, moving on to the second chapter of the Psychic Awakening, Faith and Fury, we have another ominous Vox recording intercepted. Hear this, you simpering lapdogs, you servile, dull creatures. The Illuminator is coming. Yadaris is but the first brushstroke upon a grand canvas. He is coming. And with him comes an endless carnival of sensation. And it is mentioned that the iconography matches that of the Emperor's children, just in case we didn't figure it out for ourselves. And that is currently the last in the trail of breadcrumbs, at least as far as I have found. But obviously we have Fabius Bile playing a big role in the next chapter. We could be in line for yet another mention of his Primarch very soon. And in fact, I'm expecting one. Now lately Lorgar has been getting some talk due to storyline within the Dark Imperium novels regarding the deifying of the Emperor and Guilliman's obvious unhappiness with it. But I think it's pretty clear. The breadcrumb trail Games Workshop has been leading us on for the past couple of years now is all pointing to Fulgrim, especially with the recent mentions in the Psychic Awakening books. It's coming ever closer. Games Workshop plays the long game, and the hints of Fulgrim, like I said, have been spread out over the past couple of years. The Lorgar hints that we're starting to receive are following the exact same method that Fulgrim has. In a few years' time, Lorgar will return, following the exact same method. But for now, Fulgrim is returning. Now, Nurgle could of course throw a spanner in the works with this coronavirus. Who knows how much this is going to mess up GW's plans. There's no way they will release a Primarch in this current situation. But with these mentions, especially within the Psychic Awakening books, I personally feel the time has arrived. Like I said, drop your thoughts in the comments below. I love to read them. A huge thank you to all my subscribers. Your support really means a lot to me. It truly does. And if you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But I'll be back tomorrow with another lore vid.